Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, where we go across country and travel the world with members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Let's go.
So welcome, everyone. You know we love our time with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association members. We are here every second Tuesday, every second Friday, and every third Monday. And today we have author and travel writer Amy Piper on the show. You can follow her at followthepiper.com. She is a board member of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, which we call IFWTWA. It's easier to say. And also the editor-in-chief of their Food, Wine, Travel magazine. And her latest book is Secret Michigan, A Guide to the Weird, Wonderful, and Obscure. We've talked to her about that before. But get ready, because May 15th, her newest one comes out, and that is called Small Town Michigan. And that's what we are focusing on today. She's got a great article. It's linked in the episode notes, so you can see photos and read all about these small towns. She's got 7 super small towns of Michigan. And I think small town travel, as road tripping increases in the country, we want those authentic experiences and to get out of the city and the hustle bustle. But I mean, you got some big cities in Michigan when I think of it, Amy. You do. You got Detroit. You got some big cities.
Yes, we do have
Grand
Detroit.
Rapids. Yeah.
Grand Rapids. We have the largest city in the Upper Peninsula is Marquette, which is still somewhat quaint, but there's a lot going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lansing, how big is Lansing where you are?
I would say it's about 250,000. If you
That's
look
nice.
at like the surrounding areas. And the nice thing about Lansing is you can keep that as a base, home base. Come stay in Lansing and then go out and explore some of these smaller towns. Lansing is within 90 miles or 90 minutes of 90% of Michigan's population. So it makes a great home base to get out and explore the state.
The other thing, too, what is so cool about this is that the water. Michigan has water. Of course, Lake Superior, right? But a lot of these small communities, you're going to see water.
That's true. We touch for the 5 Great Lakes, and we have the largest freshwater shoreline of any state in the United States. And we also have the most lighthouses. So if you're a lighthouse aficionado, come to Michigan. You'll see more than anywhere. And also, I don't remember the exact statistic. It's around 8 miles. You're never more than 8 miles from some water because we have a lot of inland lakes.
That is awesome. Some with tall ships. I remember being in Sagatuck. Sagatuck? Am I pronouncing
Sagatuck,
it?
yes.
I can't pronounce anything in Michigan. I can say Michigan, though, and Detroit. But the tall ship going through, and just driving around there is just gorgeous. I mean, the water, and then it seems that a lot of the towns like Sagatuck has this big grassy, like a green square, basically. And they have, a lot of public art, cute downtown. And it's just charming. The charm is a big deal in Michigan, I think. But then a lot of music concerts and things like that happen on the green. So is that for a lot of towns, or the small towns, do they have that?
Yes. For example, in Lansing, which is the capital, you can go to a concert every weeknight during the summer from about June to August, and the concerts are free. So you could get music every weeknight for free, and you go into the small towns and they have weekly things on the green, and each town kind of has their own night, so you know what night to go there. And if you're a local, for example, Water has something like that. That's a little bit north of Saugatuck, well, quite a bit north. But they all have these special concerts. It's a big thing in Michigan in the summer. And the thing is, in these times when people have crushed budgets, it's really inexpensive because those concerts are free.
That's nice.
You
And
know?
Pentwater is one of the destinations you talk about in your article. And and talking about a village green, that's where I got this idea. And So it's got two water sides going on, but what's so interesting, you said you've got like a 50s summer vacation vibe there. And I think we all love that little bit of Americana nostalgia, that
Mhm.
feeling when you go to the beach when it's fun, you know?
Yeah. And I'll take you kind of back to Saugatuck and mention kind of
Is
a
it in your book? Is it in your new book coming up?
it's in my secret book.
Okay.
And it is the fact that it was once called Singapore. And that town of Singapore is buried underneath the sand. And they moved a couple of the buildings from Singapore, which maybe is kind of maybe outside the city limits, but
Mm.
underneath. And they moved those buildings into downtown Saugatuck. And you say, well, how did that happen?
Yeah.
No, the Great Chicago Fire happened,
Hmm.
and they were desperate for wood, and Michigan has trees still to this day, tons of trees. But in those days, there were even more, and we were known for lumber. And
Mm.
so they went into West Michigan and even the UP, but all over Michigan and cut wood and basically clear cut it. So that was preventing the sand from moving and covering things. And so when they
Hmm.
took the trees away, it buried the city or the town, and so the
There's a nature lesson for us all.
yes, yes, and there's another one in secret, but it's in a small town in East Tawas, and East Tawas is in the small town book, and I call it the Wandering Lighthouse, and it was a lighthouse that was built on the edge of the shore, as most lighthouses are, and after a few years, they had to move it because it wasn't very close to the shore. Today, it is 1 mile back from the shore. It's no longer an operating lighthouse, but actually you can see the lighthouse here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 1 mile from the shore, and it's because even today, people talk about erosion, and that's
Hmm.
happens a lot on Lake Michigan. This is on Lake Huron, and the sand is coming up and building up the shoreline, so instead of it the lighthouse staying at the shore, it's getting pushed back farther because the shoreline's growing.
Mm. Interesting, huh?
Mhm.
Amazing. Amazing. So, wow. All this history, because I also know, we were up in Erie, Pennsylvania. So I'm bringing it up because of the Great Lakes, right?
Okay.
And they had a lot of ships from the War of 1812 on that
Mhm.
were buried underwater. You like to bury things in this region, don't you?
Yeah.
I wonder if I mean, have you heard of ships being buried in the water? Because
Oh,
they did
yeah.
it in winter.
Yes. So there's so many things. In Alpena, which is another small town in Michigan, it's on this what we call the Sunrise Coast or the Lake Huron side, and they have what they call Shipwreck Alley, and it is a area of the Great Lakes that's very treacherous, kind
Mm.
of like Lake Superior and the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is kind of another story.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
That's a
but
big deal. That is a big story.
yeah, that last year was the anniversary of that. But the Shipwreck Alley in Alpena, they have a glass bottom boat that you can take. And actually, it will take you out there and show you and talk to you about the various shipwrecks. And there's all kinds, there's freighters and just all kinds of different boats.
Oh my gosh.
And they have the National Oceanic Museum, atmospheric, it's NOAA.org
Hmm.
in Alpena, and they have a museum there. The museum is free, but the boat rides are there is a charge for that. But the thing that it was interesting to me is I scheduled my boat ride and I was trying to get there at a time when I wouldn't have to stay the night before. So I scheduled an afternoon boat tour and I
Hmm.
was going to drive up there in the morning. Well, I got a call a couple of days before and they asked me to please come that morning because they were probably going to have to cancel the afternoon. And as I got to talking to them more about it, they could tell that a storm was coming. And Shipwreck Alley, they don't want to be out there when it's bad weather. Plus, you wouldn't be able to see the shipwrecks. So they moved my tour till morning and we were able to go out. And sure enough, it started storming in the afternoon.
You have a thing about getting out on the water in storms, don't you?
Yes, I
Bef-
do.
Before we were recording this, she was talking about an article coming up in Food Wine Travel magazine. By the time this airs, it might have already been out about going on a storm in an aluminium. See, I say aluminium, you say aluminum here, right?
Yes,
Boat in the Chobe River in southern Africa. So, yeah, that's and somehow managing to come home alive but without getting zapped. Yeah, you like to go out on the water in storms.
I do. I do. If there's a boat tour in Michigan, I've either been on it or I've got
Stormed
it
it.
on my list. Now, the interesting thing kind of attached to this is Lake Superior and the Edmund Fitzgerald. And last year was the anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald sinking. And in one of the boat tours that I took last summer, they said, that was the last major sinking of a commercial boat. And they said the reason why that was the last one is because they've increased the efficacy of the sonar and weather prediction. So now they can tell, like they did for me, that, hey, bad weather's coming, there's a storm, and not take people out.
Okay. Yeah, that's fascinating. Now, people can go see where the Edmund Fitzgerald is now, right? Or no?
There is a I don't know that they have tours for that.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that. They do have another place that's in my small town book coming out, um, called Whitefish Point in
Okay.
Paradise, Michigan, and there is the bell for the Edmund Fitzgerald that's in that
Okay.
museum. Many there's many different things in that compound. There's a lighthouse, there's the museum, all kinds of things. And it's also, if you're interested in migratory birds, there's an area there that has birds you can look for.
Now,
Um,
the other thing I wanted to bring up is the SS Badger because that's something that people can experience, right? And it runs,
yeah,
tell everybody what that is because it runs through to Wisconsin and everyone. The next conference for IFTWA is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, not
yes.
in Michigan, where I keep getting confused for some. It's Amy's fault. Every time I think Wisconsin, Michigan, I think of Amy. So, there it
Oh,
is.
well,
Follow
that's
the
nice.
piper onto the Badger. How about that?
Yes. So in my secret book, the SS Badger is the last coal operated ship, if you will. And it's the only ship that is an official extension of a highway. US 12, when you get it ends at the edge of Michigan on Lake Michigan, you get on the SS Badger. When you're on that boat, you are on the US Highway 12, and when you get off in Wisconsin, or I mean 10, and when you get off in Wisconsin, it continues to be US 10. So the SS Badger goes from Ludington, Michigan, another Michigan small town,
Uh-huh.
and
You talk about that in the article.
I do. When you go from Ludington over to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and we're going to be in Milwaukee. So a lot of people find Michigan is kind of, it has to be almost your destination because you don't really just pass through Michigan. I mean, yes, you can go from Wisconsin and the Upper Peninsula and on, but being that we're surrounded by lakes and
Mhm.
there aren't bridges really, um, to get across the Great Lakes, you need a boat, a plane, and so or driving
Hmm.
around.
Yeah,
So it's really needs to be your destination. It's not such a flyover place, if you will.
that brings me up to another thing. You talked about a small town in your article. That I was like, I recognize this name. Don't ask me to pronounce any of it. But it is the small town that is kind of like the gateway to Isle Royale National Park,
Oh.
which is one of the most remote parks we have, right? And isn't that the one that people have to take a boat to get to? And you can
Yes.
see wolves
Well,
and moose, right?
so
Yeah.
you can take a plane. There are small planes that go there. But going to Isle Royal isn't just something you spontaneously decide to do and then
Mm-mm.
come back. Typically, it's going to be an overnight trip. It takes a while to get there. Like I don't remember exactly how many hours, and then it takes a while to get back. So it's not typically a day trip unless you're going to fly. They do have hotels and campgrounds, not a lot, and there are moose and all kinds of things, but you get there from Copper Harbor, which is at the tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula and the Key at Copper Harbor, and that's the most northern city in or town in Michigan.
Wow. And it's one of your small towns.
It is, and it's
Huh.
if you do go to Copper Harbor, I highly recommend going to Harbor House for dinner. It's,
Mm.
got a beautiful outdoor sitting area, and so you can wait while your table's ready, recommend reservations, but a funny incident that happened was I was sitting out there waiting for my table, and all of us, they have wine and Michigan wine and all kinds of things that you can go out and enjoy and watch this Lake Superior. And all of a sudden, all the servers come running out and were, you know, kind of excited, and I'm like, "What's happening?" Is there a fire in the restaurant?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, turns out that every time the badger comes back
Oh.
from not badger, excuse me, I forget the name of the ship that comes back from Isle Royal to Copper
Hmm.
Harbor. When that ship comes back, the servers run out, they do a dance, they wave, they sing to greet the boat coming back from Isle
That is
Royal.
cool.
Yeah, so it was fun. It was fun to be there when that happened.
Wow, that's nice. I mean, when we look at tourism and hospitality, those
Mhm.
are those things that, isn't a hard thing to do, but it makes everyone feel special,
Yeah.
you know? So I love
And
that. I love
and
that.
even those
Yeah.
of us who were just sitting there having a glass of wine, we
Yeah.
just, it was just fun.
That's cool. It's like when people sing for you in the restaurant when it's your birthday,
Mm.
that kind of thing. But it's this is a little different. You got a boat coming back, and they probably saw moose in the park. That is
I
on my bucket list. That is a park on my list,
Yeah, it is a
definitely.
national park, and
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I have not been there.
I do know from a fellow travel writer, Debbie Stone, who's also part of IFWTWA. She went there and she's like, take bug spray. This is one of the ones with bug spray. And
Mhm.
she just came back from Easter Island and didn't need it. So who knows? But yeah, it is fascinating. It is just fascinating to me because you get to see moose and,
Yes,
wolves.
yes,
There's
you wanna
wolves
take
up.
your long lens when you
Yeah.
go there,
Yeah, exactly.
but
I mean, I want to go. That's a bucket list. Now, you also have a castle, a fairy tale castle in a town that I'm not going to even try to pronounce because I'll butcher it.
okay, that's Charlevoix, Michigan.
Charlevoix? That is actually what I was gonna say,
It
but I
is
didn't. See,
Charlevoix.
I should have tried.
Um,
Charlevoix.
there is, a castle that is in Michigan, we have a couple of more than a couple, some castles in Michigan. This one is called Castle Farms, and it was once a dairy farm, and the man who owned it was associated with Sears and Roebuck catalog
Oh,
and took pictures and that kind of thing, and so of the equipment for the catalog, and so eventually it kind of became run down and, not wonderful, and over the years, somebody purchased it in the '60s. It became kind of a concert venue
oh
for
wow,
some of the big bands, rock and roll bands and stuff,
wow.
and, now it's got, um, a lot of different things happening there. It has some beautiful gardens and sculptures. They have this really memorable dragon sculpture. It has a small museum. There are several rooms within the grounds. It has a small World War I museum, and I've come across quite a few World War II museums, but not a World War
Mm.
One museum. So that was quite interesting. Again, it's small, a couple of rooms, but good artifacts. They have a lot of events there. If you're an
Mm.
person who likes books, they have the Boozy
Oh,
Book
yeah.
Fair over
Oh, cool.
Memorial Day weekend. Get a glass of wine and go look at, they have floors, and now they're going to have outdoor space of just authors selling their books, but they have gardens, they have a wine, they have a pub and a winery, that serves Michigan wine, so that's very.
Cool. Cool. Now, speaking of events
Mhm.
and food and wine, what's up with the cheeseburger festival? I am in. I want to go to the
Oh, yeah,
cheeseburger festival. Where's
in
that?
Caseville.
In
It's so
Caseville.
fun. Caseville is over in the Thumb area. It's not a place that it's a little bit harder to get to that side
Mhm.
of the state. And people say, well, why is everybody going to the west side? You always hear people talking about West Michigan. Well, the highway goes off the exit ramp and you're there. In the east side of the state, it's a little bit more difficult to get to. Not so much Caseville, well, Caseville too, but Alpena, you take the highway and then you need to take a two-lane highway
Yeah.
for about 30 miles to get to Lake Huron stuff. And so it's a little bit more difficult and to get
That's
to.
my style of driving. I like the little two-lane highways,
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
and through Michigan, it's like farms and lakes. It's
yeah,
beautiful,
it is. But so that's a question that I get asked. Why do you always hear about the west side of the state? But the east side has a lot of very interesting things. And one thing in Caseville that I noticed at the state park, they had a series of life jackets hanging on a information kind of board, and it was just like you could borrow a life jacket if you wanted to go out swimming on the lake, and there were little kids ones and big kids
Oh, wow.
ones, and I'd never seen that
That's
before,
cool. That's
and,
cool. It's
I thought that
thoughtful.
was kinda neat. But the Cheeseburger Festival is a big event, multi-day, that happens in Caseville in the summer. I believe it's August, but very Jimmy Buffett-esque, if you will,
Yeah.
and, just it brings people in, and that
Eat cheeseburgers.
really a good foodie destination.
Hmm.
And you might say, "Well, why is that?"
Like Travis City is, I've always heard as being, and we've done interviews with people years ago about the food scene. And it's like very farm to table kind of things happening in distilleries. And there was a tea lady who was doing her own organic teas and all
Mhm.
kinds of things. The
That's
distillery was
true.
fun.
That's true, and the reason many people don't know, Michigan is second only to California in agricultural diversity. So we have all kinds of produce
Mhm.
and, specialty
Berries,
items, berries, cherries.
cherries. Oh, yeah, cherries.
I just found out this morning that Grand Rapids, Michigan has over 70%, like, I don't know, 72, 79% of Michigan's apples in their area. And so
Yeah.
they're looking to bring people in interested in that in the fall, some agritourism.
And then, like you talked about too, the birding aspect of it all. I just did an interview with a birder, and he'd written a book about birding on the Great Lakes,
Hmm.
and it was fascinating because you're looking at all the different water birds as well, and that's like for water birds and cranes. But he's from Milwaukee, but he comes over to visit you all the time in
Well,
Michigan.
we're known for in around the Traverse City area, which is a relatively small town. I didn't include that in my small town book. It's one of my favorite cities because it has more than, I tried to keep it around 10,000
Oh,
or less, and, really showcase the smaller places. But the Great Lakes piping plover is
oh,
an endangered species. It's a shorebird. And in Michigan, we've really helped with the DNR to bring them back and closer to getting them off the endangered species list. What happened was they would put their nests right along the shoreline, so dogs and people would accidentally step on them, or dogs would get into them and ruin the nest. Well, what they started doing was having DNR people and volunteers there to put chicken coop wires over the nest so the birds can get in and out, but people
Dogs
will
can't.
know, well, and people will know they're there.
Yeah.
So I was able, when I was there were 3 pair, 6 birds, and they would come within pretty near distance. I didn't even need my long lens. I just used my camera phone.
Wow.
Pictures. I mean, I was all ready. I had my long lens, and my long lens was too long.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That is
Mm,
so cool to hear about because, yeah, Wisconsin did a lot with the whooping cranes, and
mm.
they're the ones, and it's Texas who's really doing stuff, but it was started in Wisconsin.
Oh,
And yeah, I saw them in Texas and in Port Aransas area. They do a whooping crane festival, but the history of saving the whooping cranes came from Wisconsin. So you guys are
well,
doing good jobs. And isn't that also part of making sure the lakes are clean? I think that
yeah.
the whole Great Lakes region like had to make sure the lakes were clean as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important for, if you wanna get out on the lake and boat and swim, you want a clean lake. In the Upper Peninsula, if you're speaking of clean and clear, Kitch-iti-kipi in Palms Book State Park, it's, a spring that they have a raft attached to, kind of some kind of a pulley system, I wanna
Mhm.
call it, and you can, go out there and propelled onto the spring and actually look down, and it looks like you're in a swimming pool in the sense that it's
Wow.
that clear, and you can see the brown trout swimming down there
Oh,
and
that's so cool.
everything, and it's absolutely beautiful,
Yeah.
kind of aqua-colored water and that kind of thing.
Your outdoor parts, like I think Caseville, you were talking about. There's the Sleeper State Park, Albert Sleeper State Park,
Yes, yes.
and then I remember outside of Saugatuck, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember there being a park that we went to that was sand dunes.
Yes, that's true. I can't remember
I can't remember the name, but it's a sand dune park. It's a state park with sand
Warren's
dunes.
are you referring to Warren? A bit farther south, but yes,
Mm,
Warren Dunes State Park is there.
sounds right. It sounds right.
There is Warren Dunes State Park, but Saugatuck does have dunes, and you can get dune buggy tours that will take you and tell you the history of the area and that whole Singapore story and all of
Wow,
that. But again,
that's amazing history.
the dunes were really coming into the towns as the trees were taken away because they
Yeah.
kind of kept things in place.
Well, there's a lot of conservation and history stories today with
Yeah, there
food,
are.
with
And
cheeseburgers.
I talked about Ludington, Michigan in my article. And that's a very important area for lumber barons. Warren Cartier, some people say Cartier, but it's really his name was Cartier.
Oh,
They have the Cartier Mansion Bed and Breakfast, which used to be
wow.
his home. And
No way.
that well, I'm kind of excited because that won Newsweek's um, number one historic bed and breakfast. I nominated it, and last year my my five I nominated five, and my nominations got the top three.
Awesome.
Cartier Mansion was, I think, number 2 last year and number 1 the year before. Lyria Manor Inn in the Keweenaw was number 1 for Reader's Choice, and then one in Abilene, Kansas was number 3.
Well, that's the thing. Michigan does have a lot of bed and breakfasts. During COVID, we did a lot of stories on bed and breakfast because the way that they're set up, they were able to really take care of guests and keep them separated at breakfast. Like you
Mhm.
sit out on the patio, they were really attentive. And we stayed at Saugatuck Inn, I believe it is that we stayed at. And also the Leonard at Logan Bed and Breakfast, which is an old brownstone next to a house that used to be a Frank Lloyd house. Well, it was a Frank Lloyd house. And then the apprentice for Frank Lloyd and Frank Lloyd had a big fight, and Frank Lloyd stormed off. Well, he's got a temperament, we all know. But the
Yeah.
Leonard at Logan, check this out. This is why I say everyone, like, bed and breakfasts are awesome to stay in, because
Mhm.
you're sleeping in history, and you're preserving that history, and it's normally a family run business as well. So, and the attention to detail, and they know all the scoop and all that good stuff. Leonard at Logan, the guy who built this house, his wife was complaining about, like, cleaning the refrigerator, and because it was all metal, right? So when metal freezes, like, the ice gets stuck to it, and she couldn't, like, if you spilled something, you couldn't clean it.
Right.
He's the one invented how our fridges and freezers are with the whatever called,
Frost-free?
because
Oh,
of
really?
the material on the inside. So they have one of his very first fridges that he made into being that you can clean a refrigerator
And what
at
town
the inn.
is
This is in Grand Rapids, and they're in this historic neighborhood. It's called Leonard at Logan. And if you want to ever taste the best food on the planet, Ruth Andrus is who owns it. Ruth, co-owner, and she's the best cook. I mean, you will not go there and be hungry at all. Just a beautiful mansion. Just to go walking in the neighborhood is amazing. You can go down the street and nice. It's you don't feel like you're in the city at all. It's this very historic neighborhood with historic homes having a plaque as you go, and you can follow it. You can follow. I mean, we did that a lot, and that was during COVID when we went there. So we went into the city, and there's Indian mounds in the city that you can go to right outside Gerald Ford's museum, Betty and
Yeah.
Gerald Ford's museum
Yes.
there. So there's the Indian mounds, and just the public art of Grand Rapids is incredible. Anyway, it was fun. And then we followed the Grand Rapids trail, the water trail,
Huh?
and that took us way beyond Grand Rapids.
Yeah. And,
So
they have art prize in Grand Rapids. Mm.
yes, yes. So it's
That's
really cool. I mean,
it
Michigan is beautiful, and we've been all throughout the state, and now we just have to come back. It's your fault. We'll get there. We're going to go
You
follow the
have
Viper
to come back, and
to
we need to
Michigan.
meet up then.
Yes, yes. Last time I think we were there, we were in Coldwater. Now, talk about a small town. That is a small town, and it's famous for a horse that went to battle like 6 times or something and never got shot.
Wow.
You
Need
know?
to learn
Yeah.
more about that.
He's a hero. Everyone, Amy's book is coming out. Read her article. There's a lot more in there because, of course, we want to talk about all kinds of things here. So her book is coming out, Small Town Michigan, May 15th, 2026. Follow her at followthepiper.com. Her article is linked in the episode notes as well as her website. And also IFWTWA.org. Their conference is coming up, like we said, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we'll be having a show about that this month. So stay tuned for that. And when is the conference again? Is it September?
It is September. Wait, no,
And the
no,
thing that's great about this conference is that you do not have to be a member, but by the time you go through it all, you might as well become a member. And IFTWA's open to travel writers, photographers, podcasters, publishers, and also all of the associates, like the actual destinations, wineries. Everyone could be part of it.
it is like the 19th through the 21st of
Of September,
October.
of October. Oh my, fall colors.
Yes, it's gonna be
And
beautiful.
apples will be out.
The apples will be out. But I will say that by that week, the Badger will not be running,
Well, that's too
which is
bad.
kind of a bummer, but
Yeah.
because I wanted to go there. But I'm going to Wisconsin in September too, so I'm
Mm.
going to take the Badger again then.
Did have my first cheese curds in Grand Rapids.
Did you?
Yes, yes. I mean, you guys are close. Come on now, right?
I
Kind of
know, I
close.
know.
But I think you're going to be having cheese curds in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I love it. I love
I think,
cheese
me too. You,
and beer.
and beer.
But you know what? I have to put in a plug for Michigan. Grand Rapids, Michigan is Beer City, USA. So I can't remember who gave them that award, but it's been several
Hmm.
years. in a row
So is
for beer.
Asheville, North Carolina, also beer city. There's
The
a
beer.
rivalry. Maybe we'll have to have a battle of the beers.
Oh, that would be fun.
Everybody stay tuned. We will have a Battle of the Beer podcast coming shortly, and all breweries need to send samples.
There are
Happy show.
so many wonderful breweries in Grand Rapids.
My God, and Michigan as a whole.
Yeah.
Now, what's going? Okay, before you go, Mackinac Island. Is that like what is Mackinac Island all about? Because I have friends from Michigan, and they always that if they go home to Michigan, it's a must on their list to go on a boat to Mackinac Island.
Yes. So you can only, some people have the mistaken idea that Mackinac Island, the Mackinac Bridge goes to Mackinac Island. It does not. The Mackinac Bridge connects the upper and lower peninsula. So you can go on a ferry or you can go via plane. But most people take a ferry. Shepler's Ferry is one of the most common ones to take.
Fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. They actually have one that goes underneath the Mackinac Bridge, and they have some lighthouse tours. So if you are really into lighthouses, there are like 3 different areas, the eastbound, the westbound, and Lachino Islands that you can take some boat tours. But Mackinac Island, no motor vehicles. They're very limited in who can do an e-bike, and fudge shops and the Grand Hotel, all of those things are.
Would you consider that a small town or no?
It is in my small town book, and I'll put a plug in for the beginning of June is the Lilac Festival.
Yes, bring the lilacs on.
Yeah.
That is
So,
special.
In May is the Tulip Festival. In June is the Lilac Festival on Mackinac Island.
This is cool. Flower Power rocks.
Yeah.
Now, Judy Cohen, who's also on the board of IFWTWA,
Mhm.
she was on the show last year, and she went on a Great Lakes cruise.
Right.
She took a cruise ship, and it even went, because she's from Toronto, she went to Mackinac Island off of that. She went to Cleveland, Ohio. She ended up at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I think
I'm
also
jealous.
one of them also stops in Alpena, where I was talking about the shipwrecks.
I think that's why it was starting to sound familiar, but then you and I talk, and so, yeah. Isn't that cool?
It is.
Everybody always thinks of taking the big, European things, but by the time she was done talking, I'm like, dude, people need to know that we have good cruises here too in this country to explore. And what a way to see the Great Lakes, huh?
And if you're gonna go to see pictured rocks, people talk about, "Oh, I'm gonna go and hike and this and that." If you really want to see the rocks, you need to take the Pictured Rocks boat cruise
Oh, okay.
and see them from the water. It's just a little, 2-hour thing, but you get full view of all the rock
Mm.
formations and the colors, and it's just wonderful.
Michigan sounds like, a really good destination for summer. I know it is into fall. So check it out. Everyone, again, follow the Piper. Thank you so much, Amy, and have
Thank
fun in
you.
Spain.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFWTWA, which is IFWTWA.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!